All right, good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming out tonight. Welcome to the Board of Education 25-26 school budget presentation. After that, we will take a quick break, and then we will have our Meet the Candidate night, where we have 4 candidates running for 2 board spots this year. So at this time, I will get out of everybody's way and turn the meeting over to Superintendent Schwartz and our business manager, Drew Giaquinto.
Thank you and good evening. Mr. Giaquinto and I are going to give you a quick overview of the budget this evening, the proposed budget. I would encourage folks who haven't been able to attend all of our meetings to look back on the website. You can follow the development. Tonight's presentation is a bit shorter than that. So our goals for this evening are to provide a review of our 25-26 proposed budget, the one that was adopted by the board on March 31st, and then we will respond to any questions folks might have. And as we always do when we're talking about budget, we begin by focusing on our mission statement and our children. Before I turn it over to Drew, I just want to make a couple of general comments about the budget. We're very proud of this budget. Despite the gap of $2.8 million that we had to reduce, the board was able to maintain all of our programs. So that includes both the core academic areas, but also our athletics program, our fine arts and arts, our clubs, our activities, our after-school busing. So I have to give Drew and his team a shout out tonight because it was certainly their diligence and commitment to find the reductions that got us where we are tonight. This budget includes our 2 and our athletic top up during our budget development, and also maintains our teachers, our support staff. So at this point, I'll turn it over to Mr. Giaquinto, and he will take it from here. Do you want me to click for you?
Sure. Back on February 10th of 2025, the carry forward or first draft was presented to the Board of Education, which what that essentially means is the cost of maintaining all existing programs at known or projected cost and with our state aid number. So at that time, the expenses were projected to go up $4.1 million or 6.33%. The state aid was going to be a 2.54% increase or $630,000 of increased state aid. You can do a simple arithmetic look at that, what's the gap is. When you take the expense increase less the aid, you've got a problem. So we start out with almost a $2.9 million hole to get to the tax cap. So then the Board of Education, through about 10 weeks of work with administration, support staff, and everybody's input, we were able to have a budget approved for the voters on May 20th, I believe it is. Which is a 5.09 tax levy increase, that's the amount of taxes we have to raise in dollars to balance the budget. It correlates to a 3.44% tax rate increase. The difference is the tax rate's what the individual is going to pay on their tax bill compared to the prior year. That's the most important, I think, to the individual, and that's due to assessed value increase in the district. The spending increase is 3.14%, and that's because of the reductions that were obtained through reduction in staff through attrition, not filling vacancies. I think we eliminated 3 non-instructional positions, 2 in the district office and 1 in the school. So this is how it compares the first draft of the budget to where we landed on, and you can see that the impact house of $160,000, assessed value is $135, and on the assessed value of $200,000, it's $169. You can see the average tax bill compared to the prior year, and the gap to the cap now is $614,115. So if in fact the budget is defeated, the board can choose to go out one more time with the same or a different budget, or immediately go to a contingent budget. A contingent budget allows you to increase the taxes by zero. So you have to have the same amount of tax levy as the prior year. That would result in about a $1.7 million reduction to the budget that's going to the taxpayers almost 2 weeks from today. Again, here's a simple comparison of what you're looking at. 67.1 million is the spending limit, 3.14% increase. It's about 2 million, 2.1 or less than that increase from the prior year budget. And the tax levy is now 35 million. The allowable was 34,493, 692. That's the gap to the cap of 614,000. And you can see that requires about almost $1.7 million reduction to get down to last year's tax levy if the budget's defeated twice. These are some comparative tabulations that we do. We present this in the budget newsletter, and it just shows you categorically where the costs lie in the budget. You can see the instructional, which should be the highest percent of the budget, and you can see the percent increase is 2%. The highest increase is benefits. Again, this is reduced from that original budget of 6.33% increase because of the reductions to staff through attrition, leave of absences, and not replacing or actually eliminating 3 non-instructional positions. So you can see that's the 3.14%. That's how it's laid out side by side with the categories that the state looks at. And this is the funding. You can see the state aid, which went up 2.54% or $630,000. You can see our use of fund balance, which is basically the district savings account. That's funding 6.5% of the budget. And the property taxes are 52% of the budget. If you take the property taxes, the fund balance, the state aid, that's 97% of the funding of the budget. That's pretty much where it all lies. There's 3% that's derived from sources such as federal money on the Medicare D subsidy, charging for services, and other miscellaneous things. The tax rate will be established by the board in either mid or late July. Typically, when the assessed values are set by the town, we'll then determine what the tax rate is. And so that's not known, but I can show you it's not going to be more than 3.44%. Hopefully it's lower, usually it is, than what I estimate. This is just a quick snapshot historically. 2013-14, which was the first year of the tax cap era, that was our highest tax cap, 446. We went out at that cap. The tax rate was 438. The spending was 276. So that was our highest statistical year. The next year, we had a very low allowable tax cap of 0.8, so the board approved going over it, getting the 60% majority that it required. The public supported that. We went out with a 1.12 tax rate, a 1.76 levy, and a 3.3 spending. You can see the average. The district's been fiscally prudent by adding or maintaining programs over some tumultuous times over the last 17, 18 years. You can see this year we're a little bit outside the median, but closer than we were when we started. And this is the assessed value. That you can see what I alluded to before, the impact on a $160,000 assessed value or on a $200,000 assessed value. The state requires us to, once the budget's adopted, to categorize into 3 parts: administration, program, and capital. Administration's kind of self-explanatory. It includes the admin in the buildings, central office, transportation supervisor. Program is instructional and transportation, not including the supervisor. And capital is your building and grounds or health and safety costs and your debt service. That typically stands out there and isn't touched if the budget goes down, because you must maintain health and safety standards and you have to honor the debt that the public authorized you to borrow money for projects. So the key there is to focus on the admin and program if the budget goes out a second time or it goes to contingent, you need to stay within these categories, at least these ratios. So you just cannot make reductions unilaterally to one side of the budget. You have to keep it in proportion. And this kind of lays out how that would look if we had to drop $1.7 million. You can see we'd have to reduce administration by $228,000 and almost $1.5 million in program. This was just what's going to be on the proposition in May. I think it comes after this. And this is the, we had two presentations. One, I think it was in April, the second one, which outlined what we're required to do by the state, which is to start turning our fleet over into an electric vehicle and move away from diesel and unleaded. So we have to begin to start purchasing electric buses and then fully implement by 2030, I think it is. So to do that, we have to invest about $2.6 million in the facility on Sacandaga Road, which is to run the conduit to these charging stations, bring a transformer in, rip up the parking lot, and all this good stuff. But it's, the PowerPoint on this lies on the website. They're both on there. We should see no increase because of the transportation aid, the building aid, and the New York State incentives on this type of work.
So at this time, we would be happy to answer any questions folks might have about the proposed budget. Yes.
Where does the pilot monies come from?
The pilot monies?
Yes.
So pilots are payment in lieu of taxes.
Yep.
They're agreements that Metroplex enters into through the municipality with new businesses. And so as you saw in the PowerPoint and presentations, 3 pilots are sunsetting this year, this coming year, 25-26. CDTI, which is over on Route 5, Shady Lane Apartments, and Bellagio Cheese in the park over here. They're all going to move to the tax rolls. So you're going to lose $416,000 and change off your revenue budget, but you're going to pick up almost $600,000 on the tax rolls of income, because I'm estimating about $21.5 million for those 3 properties. So it'll reduce your tax rate. That's why you see that differential between 5.09 in the levy and 3.44 in the rate, because the assessed value is going to grow predominantly due to those 3 properties increasing in assessed value on the tax rolls from these pilot agreements. So that's where that's how that works.
What were those 3 properties for again?
CDTI, which is over on Route 5 down by where Valley Road and 890 kind of intersect before there. It's a big building. Excuse me? Yeah, and they do trucking, I think, too. Yeah. Thank you. And then Shady Lane Apartments did an administrative build or something. They enhanced their structure. And the big cheese factory back in the park, that's going on the tax rolls. So.
Just to follow up on that question, you're losing the pilot income, but they're going back up, they're getting on the tax rolls. How much income will you get from having them on the tax rolls? Will the school district get?
So the pilot's decreasing your revenue. This is how it works. This is the $416,000 comes off your revenue budget. So you have to make that up in tax dollars, but you're going to pick up $21.5 million of assessed value, or almost $600,000 of taxes from the taxpayers now. So it's going to help your tax rate, but believe it or not, hurt your revenue budget this year. That's how it works. So your tax bills are going to go down more than the tax levy is going up because of the shift. Not my formulas, that's how the state does it. Yes, sir.
So, staff hires and additions with the COVID-19 related federal and state funding, has that funding dried up? And where are we with the staff's additions? Have they been deleted, or is there a projection as through attrition as to when things would even out?
So the CARES Act sunset last year. It's all done, the 3 phases of it, and we did not incur any legacy costs from. We used it for like projects like fixing a parking lot, playground work. We didn't really incur any hires that stayed with us after the CARES Act sunsetted. But the budget does reflect 21 reduction in headcount through attrition, leave of absences, and 3 reductions of non-instructional, 2 in the district office and 1 in the school. Yes.
With the addition of the Proposition 2 and having a garage, and there's going to be 40 electric buses. After this budget increase, how do you propose that we pay for the 40 buses that equal about $10 million?
We're not buying all 40 at once, which is, we're going to, the board and the public approved last year for us to go out and purchase up to 5. The way the price has gone up now, we can probably afford 3. And state aid covers about 65% of that cost, just like they do on a regular bus now. But yeah, the purchase price is more for an EV than a diesel or unleaded. So it's a mandate from the state. It's a phase it in. So starting in 27, we have to replace every unleaded or diesel bus with an electric bus, and then be fully implemented by 2035, I believe it is. So it just becomes part of the budget that the states, and whether they're going to aid us more, I don't know. I have none of those answers. I just know what we're supposed to do. And right now, that project that's on the proposition will not have a increase to taxes because of the incentive that's out there, the transportation aid that's out there, the building aid that's associated with it. And we set aside some money in a reserve, a debt service reserve for this. So that's been outlined. It's in the PowerPoint. But no, the 2.6 will not increase taxes because of the aid and the money we set aside. And going forward, we replace 3 to 5 buses every year typically. So we'll continue to do that, but it'll be with unleaded, or excuse me, electric buses going forward. Unless she changes the mandate, it's not my mandate. It's a great question. It's more money to all the communities. There are a couple of communities that voted down. What happens when you vote down what's a mandate? I don't know. I've asked that question. No one knows. I mean, the public has to approve this, and we're supposed to do it, but what happens if they don't approve it? What do? We can't charge our buses. Unless I go to Burnt Hills and do it, but yes.
What's our transportation aid ratio?
64.5%. Billing aid, 74%.
Has there been any kind of projection on what the increased electrical consumption resulting in increased electrical bill will be for the vehicle chargers moving forward, and whether that'll be offset by the decrease in diesel expense due to the trade out, or will that be an added expense to the school? How will that be paid for?
It's a great question. I don't know because we don't have one yet. So until we find out what it takes, and here's the other thing, the chargers change every year, the technology. So if I went out and got 40 chargers today and I have 5 buses, by the time I get those rest of the buses, those chargers are going to be obsolete. So technology is going to change these ratios. So it's a great, and I had that question that was a great question. Yes, you'll have the fuel go down, right? But what's the kilowatt going to be per hour compared to the cost per gallon? Exactly. What would be greener and cleaner air? Until we store the batteries underground, and I don't know, the landfills, but, so good question. Yes.
Speaking of mandates, the president has said something about getting rid of DEI in schools. Does that correlate to public schools?
That's your
I'm sorry, CTI?
DEI.
DEI,
DEI.
yeah.
Well, we are always going to be an inclusive school. We're a public school,
Right.
and we honor all children who come here. I'm a former special ed teacher. I can remember back a long time ago when kids with special needs started coming back into the public schools. Now that's so commonplace. But as a public school educator, I do believe that we need to treat our kids and get them what they need. So I'm not sure I would call it diversity, equity, and inclusion, but I would certainly call it everyone who crosses our doorstep and comes to us. It's our responsibility to do everything we can to have them be successful in school. But are we having specific initiatives for certain groups of students? No, except for what we're federally required to do. So for things like special education, English as a new language, students who receive additional supports because of their testing scores. So if I'm that student who can't do math, but you're a student who can do math, I might be getting additional math help, but I don't consider that a question of equity as much as I do a question of need.
Sure.
So no, I don't anticipate, I know my colleague in Saratoga is being investigated at the federal level at this point, the Saratoga State School Districts, but no, I don't anticipate that's going to happen to us. Yes, Chris.
Related to the electrical power question earlier, does the EV charging station project include any solar panels to offset the extra usage of electricity?
We have a solar repurchase agreement we've had for over a decade where we have panels on different businesses in the Capital District. It's called remote net metering. We save $50,000 a year over the last 10 to 12 years doing that. This does not have solar panels. We do have solar panels associated with the bus garage through this, through this project, through another project, but not on this project. There's not going to be panels on the roof of the bus garage or anything like that. Yes.
Given that you mentioned the large increase in funding for special ed, I'm assuming you're talking about students that cannot be provided the services in this district and have to be sent to others, and you're charging money for those. Do all districts, are they all faced with great increases in that particular line, or do some districts make the choice to bring those kids back into the district and provide the services at a lower cost by having the district provide it rather than paying someone else?
There are two parts of this, and I'm going to ask Drew to jump in. We would love to have all of our kids here. I say that without reservation. Again, I'm a former special ed teacher, so if we could give people the education they need here, I would bring them all home. We're facing two challenges right now. This year's budget in particular, we were not prepared. We did not anticipate 9 extra students
Actually,
who were
12.
I'm sorry?
12
extra students who were already in out-of-district programs, and we couldn't serve them here. So those students remain where they are in the programs they're in. We're hoping to begin 3 new programs here this coming year and bring children here rather than have them out of district. So that's part of it. The other piece, though, is there's a tremendous shortage of special education teachers and also support staff. And all schools in this area are facing the same hurdles we are. So finding people who can staff programs, even if you want to offer them, particularly if you're talking about a program for a student with significant needs, perhaps a program for students on the autism spectrum, finding teachers for those programs right now is very, very challenging. Thank you. Please, if you have questions over the next few days, something that you didn't get to ask tonight, but that you're interested in, do not hesitate to reach out to Drew and I. Our emails are right on the website, and we will get any answers we can back to you or give you a quick call. but I want you to be as well informed as you can as you prepare for both. Any final comments for you?
Doing this since February 10th, I enjoy answering the questions, so just go through the superintendent or the board, and I'll get back to you.
Thank you.